Hello and welcome to episode 9 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast with me, Will Brown. It's transfer deadline day, and we don't know if our best striker in a number of years is going to leave. Despite reassurances from Widrington that he'll be loaned back, you never know in these final hours what's going to happen. So if you do hear any kind of parody radio show phone-in things throughout this show, it's because I had a moment and some inspiration to do some accents that you might hear throughout the show. So if you do, don't be alarmed. Normal proceedings will be just around the corner. So today we've got the thoughts of Ian and Julian, who kindly sent in their thoughts via voice recording because I've had a busy week, and they're going to talk about the Rochdale home game, 3-1 win, and Wealdstone away, 3-all. However, 2-0 up is probably the slightly crucial moment there. And we look ahead to Halifax away at the weekend, which is another playoff chasing team to contend with. Enjoy the episode and speak to you after.
Well, we're hearing reports that Portsmouth have staged a 10th hour bid for the Swiss striker.
So let's kick things off with Rochdale at home. Playoff chasing Rochdale, who came to the Rec. 3,000 in attendance at the Rec, which is great to see after a slightly lower attendance for the midweek game. So started off very well, with Laurent Tolaj opening the score in the 6th minute. 5 minutes later, as is always the case with this old shot team, we seem to find a way to concede right after scoring. Ian Henderson straight through the middle and finished well, 39 years old, as I reminded everyone as it went in. Kean Harris slotted home the penalty that Stuart O'Keefe won in the 44th minute before Jack Barham sealed the deal with his 51st minute strike, make it 3-1. Possibly could have scored 4 more, but we end it with 3 vital points. So let's come to you, Julian, and then Ian. What were your thoughts on the Rochdale game?
Yeah, I thought the Rochdale game was probably pound for pound the best performance of the season. It's the first time in a while that I probably felt really comfortable in the scoreline, and I thought O'Keefe was actually much more effective in this game. It had much more influence over the game. Loved the first goal where he took control of the ball in the midfield, sprayed a long ball out to Jack Barham, shot come cross, and Tolaj was there to finish it off. So yeah, I thought again the midfield combo was efficient. Rochdale looked tired. I think they were a little bit rusty. They hadn't played a game for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So I think they were looking a little bit off the pace. But, that's what you have to do. You can only beat the team that's in front of you. I thought Stokes' intelligence was great to see. The third goal, just where he sort of stepped out to the back four and found some space, turned, slotted it through to Barham, who finished it calmly. Again, really good to see. And as I said in the previous podcast, it's good for Barham to score and to get an assist as well. So that'll do his confidence all good. I was really pleased to see the crowd, over 3,000 there, which was great to see. I wasn't quite expecting that figure, but they were all entertained and treated to a really good performance. Player of the match, I'd probably go O'Keefe. I thought that was his best game of the season. I thought he was very influential, and really pleased to see. We definitely want more of that from our captain.
Really pleased with the win against Rochdale. Believe it was probably one of our best performances at home, and it was such an important win given that where we were on the table. Whilst some people felt it was perhaps too early to call it a 6-pointer, I think it absolutely fine to refer it to to it as that. So 3 points, very welcome. Played well against a team that are one of our rivals for that playoff spot. I think my man of the match would have to be Tillage. He's seemed to be on fire in recent weeks. I mean, he's had a great season, but almost since the unpleasantness at the end of the Kidderminster game, where he perhaps took exception to some of the criticism that was coming from the away end that day, he seemed to have really played with a point to prove ever since that moment. So Tillage would be my man of the match from the Rochdale game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of echo the comments made by Ian and Julian there, I think it was our best performance of the season, without a shadow of a doubt. Definitely throughout that 90. Let's not forgetting that Rochdale were very good in that first half as well, and they definitely looked dangerous. We were quite not fortunate. I think we played well for the entire game. I think they also had chances, and we came through that. And I mean, the second half was absolutely unbelievable. Every single player played superbly. Obviously, we've mentioned Laurent Tolage there and Stuart O'Keefe. I think two standouts, as well as Dejan Tetek in the midfield. Again, showing why he's well, fast becoming the first name on the team sheet if he's fit. And yeah, I just guess a special shout out to Ryan Glover, who's strung together at least 2 or 3 strong performances. And I think, yeah, it seems like it's the reaction from the poor results that we had against Bishop Stortford and Kidderminster. It seems to have given them a kick up the backside. And a lot of the players are really showing their quality now. And that's great to see. Better performances are probably around the corner.
Now, what really sold it to me really was just how humble the boy is.
And then we come to Wealdstone away on Tuesday night. Another team that are probably going to be lingering around the playoffs. They've got a few games in hand due to their postponed games. It was some game. I think as a neutral, you probably would have absolutely lapped that up for 20 quid. It was 2 teams that both know how to play football, 2 teams that want to keep the ball, 2 teams that are pretty quick going forward when they get in the final third. So it started with the Jack Barham finish to go 1-0 up in the 20th minute. Laurent Tolage with an unbelievable touch and finish 4 minutes later. But then comes the comeback. Sean Adarkwa with one of the best touches I've seen from a long ball since Brett Williams back in the day. So he finished that off to make it 3-1 in the 32nd minute, and then 2 minutes later, Nathan Ferguson had equalised. 2 minutes into the second half, we get you just have to watch the highlights. Something happened with Geordie there. Some sort of touches outside the box where I don't know why he didn't just clear it. But all was not lost. Kwame Thomas, on as a sub, nodded home Ryan Glover's cross in the last minute to equalise. Solid point. Wealdstone ended with 9 men, the second of which, the red card, came in the 90 plus 4. So Aldershot stay 7th on 45 points after 30 games. Everyone around us has pretty much played 1 or 2 games less than that. So the playoff picture, as we'll talk about later, is still to be confirmed.
Yeah, with the Wealdstone game, do you know, at the start I would have taken a point. Wealdstone have only lost once at home all season. It's a difficult place to go. However, disappointed again, being 2-0 up, that we didn't control the game. Every time someone plays against us and they go 2-0 up, we just cannot seem to get back into it in a lot of the games. But we seem to really struggle to take control, and the other teams just seem to have that ability to get back into the game quite easily. So, yeah, disappointed that being 2-0 up that we didn't control the game and go on to win it. But then, having said that, when you're losing with deep into injury time, you have to take a point. So all in all, yeah, we take a point and we move on. The good thing for me is that we're now 4 points ahead of Rochdale and Halifax, and of course we go to Halifax on Saturday. So that means that they haven't got the incentive of being able to go above us if they beat us, which could be quite a big thing. Surprised to see Tetek play, and I think he's great. 3 games in 7 days, though, was always going to be a bit of a struggle. So, yeah, I'm wondering whether that, in hindsight, could have been a bit different. Tollage, I thought he enjoyed the armband. I thought he did a good job, seemed to rise to the occasion. It's good to see Tollage and Stokes level on 13 league goals for the season now, and JB just behind on 10. Just the other thing I wanted to really just sort of mention was that the last 7 away games now we have conceded 2 or more goals, and it doesn't take a brain scientist to realise that that's where our problems lie at the moment. And so we've obviously brought in Roland Menezes to see if we can shore up the defence. We've got Haji Manoga coming back too, so I'm just hoping that we can get that sorted, because we're so good going forward, and if we can just sort the defence out a little bit. I think with our away goals, there's only Ebbsfleet that have conceded more goals away from home than us. So that tells you everything that you need to know about our away performances at the moment.
Wealdstone away, my feeling is one of frustration. 2-0 up, through that away, rather like Kidderminster, that we found ourselves 3-2 behind. But unlike Kidderminster, we battled back and we played some good football, and we tried, and we really gave them a fright in terms of, I think, around the hour mark, that we were constantly attacking. And then when they went down to 10, relieved that we got an equaliser, but equally frustrated that we didn't find time to bag a winner. I'm also was very annoyed and puzzled by the fact that there was just 4 minutes of injury time added on, when this season we've got used to mammoth injury times. And I would have thought, with the goals that were scored and the stoppages that we had for the sendings off, that surely would have added up to much more than 4 minutes. The other thing that I want to talk about in the Wealdstone game is the fact that it's the weirdest pitch that I've ever watched football on. It looked and appeared quite acceptable in terms of the sort of greenery, and wasn't a mud bath or anything like that. And what was really bizarre is where every time the ball bounced, it just died immediately, and it made it look like they were playing with an extremely flat football. The other thing to note from the Wealdstone game, unfortunately, was Yordi, that I was quite defensive of Yordi in terms of November, December, where I thought he was winning round the early season doubters. But since probably late December through January, I've been quite worried about his performance and the mistakes, and I do wonder whether we should look at the loan market to try and bring somebody in to give him some competition for a position. I know we've got Jasper Shake that played against Kidderminster as a possibility, but I think I'd be trying to work the contacts book and see if we can have somebody in.
Yeah, interesting what you say on Geordie. I think someone else might have other words to add to this shortly when we move to the next section. But yeah, I think he's definitely going to come under fire, and I think I definitely agree that we do need competition for places. I don't think they would have envisaged this being a problem. I think the idea that you can just buy or get a permanent goalkeeper and they slip in and they work and it fits into the system, great. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes mistakes are going to happen, and unfortunately, mistakes are happening quite regularly. But that is not to say that he is the only one. I think we've seen in this last month. Well, I mean, January was a kind of month of mistakes. So yes, interesting. Yeah, I guess my only thoughts from the Wealdstone game, other than well, it was that kind of inevitability that we kind of that Julian talked about. At 2-0 up, I was with Callum, who's been on the pod before, and he said at 2-0 up, well, this could be our 1-5-0 game of the season. And I looked to my left, and he was being deadly serious. So I just said to him, just wait. This is Aldershot, and this is Aldershot this season. I don't know why I tempt fate, because 10 minutes later it was 2-2, and Wealdstone were making chances. So yeah, so that leaves us after 5 points against Bromley, Rochdale, Wealdstone. Five extra points, definitely. Not many dropped there, I don't think. Despite if we had an extra 5 minutes, we probably would have beaten Wealdstone. So let's move on to the playoff picture in general, and let's get to you, Julian.
Yeah, with regard to the playoff picture, the bookies have us just missing out. The odds are 2-1 for a top 7 finish. And how often are the bookies wrong? Not often, but having said that, the way it's going at the moment, it's really, really touch and go. It depends on the other teams, to be honest, and it depends on whether we can stop leaking so many goals. What I would like to see is a bit more competition for Yordi. He has made an error or two over the last few weeks, and I'd really like to see us sign another goalkeeper to give him some competition, because I think that may just be an area where we can improve for sure. So I'd definitely like to see a goalie signed on loan. I'm just thinking, it's really touch and go. I think Southend have probably got a bit too much to do now. They always seem to be in the mix with regard to people's favourites for playoffs, but I think they've got a bit too much to do. I'm not changing my predictions from just before Christmas. I think it's out of that top 10. Whether or not we've got enough to get there depends on the defence.
The playoff picture, though, that we're still very much in the mix. Would have been nice to win last night, because I think that would have put us as high as 5th. But we're still in a very good place, and equally a point away at Wealdstone is never a bad thing. You're thinking generally before you travel there that you'd be happy with the point. So I guess that's what we'll have to settle for last night. As regards to feeling more 16-17 or 17-18 season with regards to the playoffs, I think it's definitely 16-17, where that was a season that we got into the playoffs after years of relegation battles and struggling. And what happened was that we played well in the run-in of that season. So we went into the playoffs with a bit of a momentum. It was the normal playoff in terms of 2 legs, home and away against Tranmere, which unfortunately we didn't particularly turn up for, but 16-17 was a much better season, whereas 17-18 was quite disappointing actually with the playoffs, because we'd spent periods of that season looking like we could win the league. When we couldn't win the league, we didn't even end up 2nd or 3rd to give ourselves an easier chance of promotion, and then we limped into 4th place and were of course humbled by Ebbsfleet and knocked out at the first attempt. So this year, I think if we do make the playoffs, it'll have that more 16-17 feeling.
Absolutely. I'm feeling that same way. I just finished reading Shots in the Dark by David Kinniston, which was a Secret Santa gift from my mother, and yeah, he's going through that season remarkably, and yeah, we only lost once from Christmas to the end of the season, which yeah shows in that kind of how good that run in was, and yeah, well, we could dream of that, but we've only lost once so far to Kidderminster. So if we could go unbeaten for the rest of the season, that would be a surefire way of probably coming fourth at least, maybe even sneak into second or third. So you know, we've got Chesterfield out of the way, so we're just against the rest of the crap in this league, aren't we? So next up is Halifax away. Our record there is not amazing. We haven't won there since 2017, which is kind of apt for what we've been talking about. So we go there looking to stop them from getting back into the playoffs themselves. They can overtake us. We can try to claw back some goal difference, hopefully, to -1. So let's get the thoughts of Julian and Ian.
Yeah, just looking ahead to Halifax, it's going to be a tight one, I think. And I haven't said that for a long time. But Halifax typically don't score many. They don't concede many. They did lose at Wealdstone last Saturday 2-0. And they've also lost their main attacking threat, Mr. Ali, to Exeter, which is obviously a good sign for us. I think if there's any game that's going to be a low-scoring one, it could be this one. I'm just hoping that we can get the first goal, because if we can get the first goal, then I really do think that Halifax will struggle to score. So going for a 1-0 victory for us. Yeah, and then we've got a 10-day gap until the Fylde game, which will give us a chance to have some defensive practice, I would say. Perhaps give us a chance to just reevaluate and see, what we're looking to do, where we're looking to prioritise, what our main areas of concern are to get sorted out. So I'm really confident that we can use that 10-day space to get a good performance in. Fylde are picking up a little bit, so I'm just hoping that they don't have huge momentum going into that game too.
Halifax away, another big game for the Shots, another team that's got possibilities of the playoffs. Again, I'd be quite happy with a point, but whether that'll be enough at this stage, I don't know. I suppose a point is good because at least it stops Halifax gaining ground. But equally, you've got Gateshead, Rochdale now with a game, if not two, in hand on the Shots. So perhaps we need to be looking to win. And the other thing that the Shots need to do because of their defensive issues is trying to improve that goal difference. We're still in a negative deficit. But if we can go into Halifax and bring home the 3 points, then I'll feel that, we're perfectly poised for the last third of the season.
Yes, as you both say, big game for the Shots. Can we consolidate that playoff place that we've got? Can we hold on to it? As I mentioned, the Shots in the Dark book earlier, it absolutely baffles me how up and down teams go. Because you think of playoff teams as these, highly functional, brilliant teams, but beyond Chesterfield, people are losing left, right, and centre, winning games they probably shouldn't do from positions they shouldn't. I'm so excited for this next third of the season. It's going to be a roller coaster, and so excited for it. Not going up to Halifax this weekend, but it should be at the rest of the aways, which is quite daunting because there'll only be 7 left, which is quite sad. And going off what Julian was saying about conceding 2 all the time away from home. Yeah, we haven't kept a clean sheet away in the league since Solihull, which was all the way back in October in a 1-0 win, and the other main clean sheet that we can remember in all competitions was Stockport away, 1-0. So we seem to get them when they're low scoring games. So let's hope for a low scoring game that we can nab a win at Halifax. So that ends episode 9 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast. If you've got any questions, maybe email in. Do you think this is more of a 16-17 kind of season or a 17-18 kind of season? A lot may depend on whether, as you listen to this, Tolaj has left or signed the contract that keeps him here for 3 years. And when he leaves to go to the Premiership, he will be a League One player with Aldershot. We can all dream. Enjoy the weekend. See you next week. Bye.
I just don't think he can cut it at the highest level. He's only played a handful of Football League games.